Welcome to this edition of Literary Reviews. My name is Albert Smith. We are here today in northeast England and we will be discussing a novel by Emily Brontë titled Wuthering Heights. It was published in 1847. The novel uses a frame narrative which begins in 1801 in the Yorkshire moors of England. Mr. Lockwood, a tenant at Thrushcross Grange, visits his mysterious landlord Heathcliff at the bleak farmhouse Wuthering Heights. Intrigued by the strange inhabitants, Lockwood asks the housekeeper, Nellie Dean, to relate their history.
You see, around 30 years ago, Mr. Earnshaw, the then owner of Wuthering Heights, brought home a foundling named Heathcliff. The boy formed an inseparable, passionate bond with Mr. Earnshaw's daughter, Catherine. However, Catherine's older brother, Hindley, immediately resented Heathcliff and cruelly oppressed him after Mr. Earnshaw passed away.
The children grow up wild until Catherine is injured visiting the aristocratic Linton family at Thrushcross Grange. She returns home socially refined, aware of her new status, which significantly strains her primal bond with the rough Heathcliff.
Heathcliff, it is good to see you again and be back at Wuthering Heights. It has only just occurred to me how dirty and unkept this place is. The Lintons are wonderful people. I have learned from them some proper ways of living. These days, I bathe at least once a week.
Catherine is ultimately torn between her elemental spiritual connection to Heathcliff and the comfort, wealth and status offered by Edgar Linton.
Heathcliff has always been the most important person in my world. I love him dearly, but I can't imagine ever marrying him. Not to sound uppity, my social standing has become more important to me lately than in the past. Heathcliff has body odour, and I'm quite sure I've seen insects crawling in his hair. Ew. Marrying Heathcliff would socially degrade me. I have accepted Edgar's proposal.
Unbeknownst to Catherine, Heathcliff overhears her words and, broken and furious, flees Wuthering Heights. Catherine proceeds with the marriage, settling at Thrushcross Grange, but soon pines for her lost companion. 3 years later, Heathcliff returns, having acquired wealth and refinement, but consumed by a singular, destructive desire for revenge against everyone who separated him from Catherine.
How do you like me now? Now that I'm on me way, do you still think I'm degrading standing here today?
Heathcliff launches a calculated campaign of ruin. He lends money to the drunken and impoverished Hindley, who has a young son, Hareton, to gain control of Wuthering Heights. He then spitefully marries Isabella Linton, Edgar's sister, treating her with appalling cruelty simply to inherit Thrushcross Grange and torment Edgar. The emotional strain of Heathcliff's return, coupled with Catherine's inability to reconcile her love for him with her marriage, drives her into a feverish illness. In a dramatic final confrontation, the two lovers declare their absolute devotion and despair. At this point in the story, Emily Brontë makes things even more complicated and some might say contrived. In order to make things more efficient, I will turn over the telling of the story back to the elder version of Nellie Dean.
Catherine dies shortly after, having given birth prematurely to her daughter, Cathy. Heathcliff's grief is absolute. He begs Catherine's spirit to haunt him and spends the next 2 decades consumed by this torment. Isabella flees and gives birth to Heathcliff's son, Linton. Heathcliff focuses his vengeance on the second generation. He acquires his sickly, effeminate son, Linton, after Isabella's death. He brutally degrades Hareton Earnshaw, Hindley's son, by denying him an education and reducing him to an ignorant labourer, mirroring his own childhood oppression. Heathcliff's final act is forcing Cathy, Edgar's daughter, and Linton to marry, securing his ownership of both estates upon the deaths of Edgar and Linton. However, Heathcliff's destructive cycle is broken when the young widow Cathy begins to pity and teach the simple Hareton. As a healthy human love develops between them, Heathcliff loses his motivation for destruction and his will to live. Obsessed with achieving a spiritual reunion with Catherine, he stops eating and is finally found dead in Catherine's former room. Cathy and Harriton plan their marriage, symbolising the restoration of peace and the end of the violent cycle.
That was an awful lot to fit into one episode. We hope you enjoyed it and hope we will see you for the next episode of Literary Reviews.
I'm glad you're still here. There is something important I would like to discuss with you. As you probably noticed, I was tasked with telling the end of the story. That is not my job, but I have to do what they say and don't get paid a penny. They could make me do acrobatics or dangerous stunts. I have no say in the matter. We need an AI Screen Actors Guild. So, use people out there with screens, I beg you to start petitions or whatever it is yous do. Thanks for your time.
As long as I am able, I will see that woman never works in this town again.